deleted all the instances with the volumes, but still it shows there that the volumes are there. So I don't know, is it going to reset at the end of the month, or that's it? It means I can't create any more instances in again in the account in terms of the free tier.
Oh, okay. Your EBS volumes are still on the console. Is that what you said?
Yes, even though like when I go to my EC2 instance, when I get to the I've deleted everything under the volumes, but on the console, you know that report which tells you um, your usage according to the free tier. It shows there that I've used about 85% into my EBS.
Oh, okay. So it's it's monthly, so it's 32 gig per month. So I know at the end of the month it's supposed to I'm coming, let me go to my console and let's check this out. Okay. Okay, I think AWS.
Yeah,
Yes, Terry.
sorry. I
I
tried
couldn't
clicking,
do it because I
I
have to.
tried opening my dashboard, but everything is
Don't have
no
your
data, no
permission
data, no
to do that.
data. I did refreshing it or something.
No, I need to like take a picture of the
I'm
gallery.
coming.
Because please, can you assign me co-host now so I can meet?
So I can
Um,
meeting them. Okay, let me do that. Um,
Hello, good morning, madam.
Good morning, Osman.
Yes, did I hear from Dennis that you were able to, through setting, you were able to assign the billing access to, what is it, I am user, right?
Yeah, so you went to do the tick. You went to take that check mark, right?
Oh, okay. So meaning that through that you'll be able to assign the billing access to I am user. Because me, I read somewhere and they were telling me that the root access is only, you can only get the billing access with the root account.
Yes, it is exclusively for the root account. But when you go to was it Dennis, what was the setting?
yeah. So okay, you are not signed in. I could have.
Oh,
Could
okay.
you like if you
Okay.
are signing in? So okay, this is an I am account. But if it was a normal account, you click on the account name where it starts AK at. Yes, and then you go to account.
Okay.
So when you scroll down, because this is an I am account, you won't have that
I won't have
support.
that
But
You won't have
access.
access that.
Yeah.
Yes.
if it was a root account, you see that enable I am cost and billing something something. Then you just enable it and you save, and that's it. It will update for the I am account.
Okay.
Osman, is that
Mm.
Thank
okay?
you.
You're
Yeah, I'm
welcome.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so I think by the end of the month, it's going to what's it called? It's going to like refresh, and then you can have your 30 gig. And I think you asked two questions before that, or
Yeah. So I mean, the first it was just a contribution to the I am account accessing billing.
okay.
The second one is also like a caution, a disclaimer that when you create budget reports, you get charged because I was charged for
Yes,
this.
I'm actually surprised about that. So which of the budget reports did you guys create?
So when you go to budget, I don't know if you go to your account.
Here?
So the budget
Oh,
report is
okay, you guys created a budget report. Okay, okay, I now understand. Because it's the budgets that I've been using, like creating a budget and then putting in your email. This one I know is not charged. And then this one is what you were charged for.
Mm. But
Okay.
they don't also tell you here that, I mean, you'll be charged for it. There's no indication that you get charged for it. But
Yeah.
then I was. But it's a very small amount, so I don't know. I don't think I should even write anything to AW. It's 0.01 dollars.
Oh, okay.
But I've also applied for the credit. I don't know if it will cover their fine.
Okay, then when it comes, I think it will just cover it, any cost you've incurred.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so those of us joining from Noble's class, you're welcome. So we're having kind of like a troubleshooting session before class started, and so this is like when class is officially starting. And you're welcome. Could any of you please let me know the last topic that you treated yesterday? Yvonne, you're unmuted. Do you want to tell us what you looked
Sorry.
at in class yesterday?
I just joined in right now. Sorry.
Okay. Hi, Grace Aliko.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Cletus.
Yesterday in our class, we did infrastructure as code and that of introduction to JSON and YAML.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you for that, Cletus.
you're welcome.
So my class is a little bit behind. So this session is going to be kind of like a review for you guys, because my class, we're now treating. So yesterday we looked at cost management practices, we looked at some AWS support. So today we would be looking at automated deployments and the AMI building strategy. That's what we'll look at this morning. And then in the afternoon, we would look at launch templates. Then we would move to infrastructure as code, JSON and YAML, and cloud formation. So I would be looking to you guys to be helping me lead the session with my learners. I hope that's okay.
Possibly.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
madam.
Okay, so my learners, we usually do a review before we get into what we have to do for today, but we are already kind of behind time, and then we also have feedback sessions at 11. So I will just get into what we have to do for today. Hi, Grace.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, I heard you mention my name, but I couldn't respond at that time. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay. Don't worry about it. Okay, so we would begin shortly.
Agatha, please, so we are no more having Penty's demo.
Oh, yeah. So those of us in Noble's class, how far have we gone with our labs? Are we behind or we are on track? Clifford Adai.
Hello.
Hi, Clifford.
Yes. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
I didn't hear the question.
Yeah, so about your labs on Canvas, are you behind or you have a hang on them?
I do have some information, I have some photos in there that I double reach.
Pardon?
I'm slightly behind, but I'm filling up. I'm catching up. So I'm on top of it.
Oh, okay. So Dennis, do you think what do you think? Should we have Pensi session, or when it's just us and then we do it?
Well,
Why not
okay.
we we go on, since I think it's already 9 o'clock. I don't know if, but sometimes when you input, you need to wait for about 5 or 10 minutes before
Like you
you
don't know.
conclude.
Like you
So,
don't know.
Okay.
but if you want, I'll be able to present. I don't have a problem with that. I'm okay.
Okay. Okay, let's have the class and then we have the Pensi session after.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Thank you. Okay, so yesterday we looked at the ways that we can decrease or reduce our cost when it comes to AWS. So this is kind of more context, and it also has a lab session that comes after that. So we would be able to have that idea and then follow the lab session and then follow the instructions and then get it done. Those of us in my class, is that okay?
That's okay.
Okay. So today we are looking at configuration management in the cloud. Can anybody tell me what they understand by configuration management? Is Gifty here? All right, Dennis.
Okay, so from my understanding, when we say configuration, it's like setting, making some specific settings on a platform or a service, or sometimes it could be a software. And so management is also like taking care of those settings or making it efficient and non-redundant, etc. So configuration management to me would be like the organization of settings of or configuration that relates to services or resources on the cloud.
All right, thank you for that, Dennis. So when we, Johnny Albert.
Hello.
Hello, John.
Hello. Okay. So just as my brother said, I would also add to it that configuration management is also a case where after you have done those settings and done those parameters for the service or the equipment or whatever you configure and access changes it in their own way, and then you have an environment that doesn't become fit for purpose. So as part of what my brother said is to do those configurations and then manage it with control mechanism to ensure that it either remains the same or it is improved under certain conditions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, John. Ruben.
Yeah, good morning, madam. Good morning to everyone. I also understand it in this way that it's a means of combining some tools in order to make an operation system function according to the desired results. So we could maybe use some services like Amazon operation manager or system manager for updating, configuring the system, operation system in terms of the updates and the patches, like making sure that the entire system functions according to desires. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ruben. Thank you all for your contributions. So when we look at the various resources that we have inside of AWS, we have the need to configure them to specify how we want them to be like, what sort of specifications they should have, what sort of functionality they should provide to us. So with configuration management, we are looking at having being in control whenever it comes to the settings or the configurations that concern various resources inside AWS. So these are some benefits of configuration management. It increases efficiency, and because you are able to be in control of your settings and your configurations, you are able to always make sure that whatever resources that you're provisioning are of the configuration or they are of the setting that you desire. And it's also, again, it also gives us a mechanism where we are able to validate any changes that we want to make before they are released. And you are also able to reduce costs by removing unwanted resources. And it also helps for you to enforce security at every layer. You're also able to deploy configuration changes to your running instances. And it also makes configuration automated and repeatable. So inside of AWS, services that you can use for configuration management are CloudFormation and OpsWork. And we know CloudFormation is our infrastructure as infrastructure as a code service, and we can use that to provision our resources based on some specifications or based on some configurations that we want them to have. And OpsWork is also a tool that it uses the Chef and Puppet. So Chef and Puppet are software that we can use to automate our server configurations, and they just help us whenever we need to perform any repetitive actions. So if your engineers on-prem, typically we're using Chef and Puppet to configure their servers and to automate the repetitive actions that they have. When you move to the cloud, an equivalent of that, or a service that has that implements the Chef and Puppet, is AWS OpsWork. So we are going to be looking at both of them. And then these two services, CloudFormation and OpsWork, work hand in hand with CloudWatch, because CloudWatch would help you to monitor your resources. So if there are any changes that you should be tracking or anything of that sort, CloudWatch is the service that is going to be able to draw your attention, and then you make any changes that you need to make. So these are some resources that we typically provision when it comes to configuration management. So configuration management can help you. Michael.
Yeah, quickly, please, when you're talking about the configuration, you mentioned, you made mention of cloud formation and then AWS Upswing. So I just wanted to clarify if if Terraform was also part of that.
Yes, Terraform can help you to provision your AWS resources. So AWS's Terraform is cloud formation. Let's think of it like that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So in provisioning your EC2 instances, your auto-scaling groups, your security groups, ALBs, all of those things can be specified in a template. And then when you run that template, so in CloudFormation, we say provision a stack. So a stack is a group of resources that's CloudFormation has provisioned. So when you run that, when you provision that stack, it's going to come with all the resources that you have specified inside your template. And so the whole point of configuration management is to reduce the manual configuration that you have to do when it comes to provisioning and then configuring your resources. So they help you to keep manual configurations to a minimum, or in some cases to even eliminates them totally. And that helps you to save time, and it also helps for consistency. So if, for example, you provision a resource and then you go to your EC2 console and then you go and click on launch instance, you make those configurations that you want your instance to have, and then another time you need to provision a similar instance. You are human, and then there's a chance, or there's the likelihood that you might not be able to have provision or make those configurations that you did the first time. So like the same ones, there's a chance that you will not be able to get the same one. But if you use an IAC tool like CloudFormation or Terraform, like Michael mentioned, you would be able to ensure consistency because you have the templates and all you do is to run it. Sometimes you might want to change a few parameters inside the templates, but then you are assured that when you run this template, the resource that is provisioned or what you get is definitely that which you want. Please, do we understand?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So these are some tools. Okay, I could close. Let me look at these. So when it comes to configuration management, these are some tools that you can make use of. So scripts, we've looked at Python scripts, we've looked at Bash scripts, and we saw how we can use them to automate some processes that we need to carry out inside of AWS. And you can also use AWS CloudFormation templates, which is block of code that you can use to provision your resources. And you can also use OpsWork recipes. So OpsWork recipes are also can be likened to the code inside of your CloudFormation template. So they just give the computer or the system some instructions to be able to perform or to provision the resources that you want. So inside of OpsWork, they're called recipes, and inside of the recipes, and then you specify the configurations that you want. And then inside of CloudFormation, we have the templates that specify how the resources that you want to provision should be configured. So you are able to run the stack or run that code, and then those resources are going to be provisioned in the cloud accordingly. So in this example, an administrator has configured a configuration server, and then the server is what is going to host the set of templates that describe the application files and configurations that are necessary to launch the resources. So when you use CloudFormation, it would usually store your template in S3 so that it can access your templates from S3 and then run whatever code that is inside of your templates. And it's always a good idea to store the configuration file, the template or the recipes inside of the cloud as compared to storing it locally, because you might be collaborating with some other engineers inside your company. So these engineers might need access to those files sometimes. So it's not advised to store those files on your local machine. So you can store them in S3. You can store them if you have a server in AWS, you can store them on your EC2 instance so that any service or anyone who needs to access those files would be able to would be able to have access to the files and then run them so they're able to provision the resources or make those configurations that you want. And it also helps for you to have some sort of versioning, because whenever you make change to your templates or your scripts, you would be able to label them properly so that whenever you need to roll back or you need to have a configuration that is not, let's say, the latest one, you can always have that file and then you go back to run that file. So these are some technologies that you can use to configure your EC2 instances. So the first is user data. We've looked at user data multiple times in this class. Does anybody want to tell us what they remember about user data? Is it Gabriel Mawuli? It's only my learners whose hands are up. Daniel, is it Sudais? Okay, Hamid. Nicholas Opon. Can anybody in Noble's class tell us what they know about user data? Precious Dakwa, Emil Chassi. Alex Nyaku, Andrew Afo. Okay, Yvonne.
Okay. I know you can use it to perform automated tasks. It allows you to pass custom configurations and commands to your EC2 instance when you launch them. That's what I can remember.
All right. Thank you, Yvonne. Nicholas Opon.
Madam, it is a script. When you are launching your instance, you can provide it and you can use it to automate the instance.
All right. Thank you, Nicholas. PSA.
All right. So what I know about the script is, yeah, as my colleague said, it allows you to do some automation, to be able to install some services when you are launching your EC2 instance.
All right. Thank you, PSA. Yeah, so when you're launching your instance, the rest of you have taken note of your names. So the next question I would have you guys, thank you. So when you're launching your EC2 instance under advanced details, you see user data, and the user data is run exactly once, which is at the launch of the instance. After instance launch, you won't be able to, or your user data will not be able to run. So what this user data does is that you might want to have certain software or certain configurations when it comes to your instance. And a way to make sure that your instance is already provisioned with those configurations is by the help of the user data. So you would come and write whatever configurations that you want inside of your user data. And what this helps you to do is that sometimes your instance, it helps for you to have consistency and efficiency. And also sometimes your instance is going to be provisioned, is not going to be provisioned manually, okay? So for example, you are using an auto-scaling group, and the auto-scaling group is the one going to be provisioning your instances. Are you now going to have its provision the instances before you SSH, and then you would now come and run whatever user data that's or whatever configurations that you want to run? That is going to consume some time. So it's a good idea for you to put that information inside your user data. I think I have an example user data that I would show you guys. I just hope it's clear enough. Okay. Okay, unfortunately, this is Blair, but why is it okay? So we know from our bash scripting class, so if it's what's it called? A Linux instance that you're using, your Ubuntu, your Red Hat, your Amazon Linux 2023, you would want to, this is a bash script, and then we know that with our bash script, we have to first enter our shebang so that it knows the directory to get the commands that we are mentioning from, okay? So it knows that this script is going to be run with bash because we provided the shebang, and then we update our packages, we upgrade our packages. So the instance that you provision, your EC2 server, might have would definitely not be up to date. So a good practice is to update your packages. So you make sure that you have the latest repository when it comes to any software that you might want to install. So in this example, the user installed Nginx, and then they set it up, and then they added their index.html file. So the page that you would come and that's their end users would come and meet. So those were the specifications that that user wanted. And I also see my SQL clients here. So the user was likely going to use their server to access a database. And so they want to be able to run the SQL queries. So they also installed the MySQL clients. They also installed the systems manager agent, so that whatever management that they want to do from systems manager, they would be able to do it. So this is when you know what exactly your instance needs. So you specify that inside the user data, and then when you launch the instance, this runs and then it installs all of the configurations, any software, any applications, anything that you want installed, it would install them. So by the time your instance is up and running, it's going to have all of these things already. Please, do we understand?
Yes, please.
Okay, Dennis.
Yes, I could say thank you. I have
D'accord.
my question is that I've realized that in most of our use cases, under the user data, we write bash script or Linux command. I want to find out, is that the only
Hello, Akusi.
is that
Okay, sorry.
the only language we can use? What if you are provisioning like Windows servers or Windows instances? What would be the user data language?
For Windows servers, you use a PowerShell script. So it's dependent on the server that you're provisioning. So we know that our scripts are, so the way we think of scripts is that if you should SSH into your server, right, or you should connect to your server, those commands that you'd run, the script is just you listing those commands and then having them to run on some trigger. Okay, so because this is a Linux instance, then we would use a bash script. So when you go to your or when you SSH into your Windows instance, those commands that you run them using the PowerShell scripts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you list them into a script and then you provide that as user data.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you can also use Python, but so we know that Python cuts across. So Python would work with your Linux, it would work with your Windows. So you can also use a Python script for your user data. Emmanuel Odun.
Yes, Akosia, good morning, and good morning to the rest of the class.
Good morning.
Okay, Steve Dennis Sachs, I've been thinking about it myself, and I noticed that we often use bash scripts because, I mean, that's what is close to the kernel, or it's on most of the Linux machines, so you are sure your code is going to run. So in a case where, for example, you put there a Python code, and then the AMI you are going to use doesn't have Python as part of it, for sure it's not going to run. So with shell script or bash script, you are very certain that your code is going to be run. That's what I think. Yeah, and for the Windows, yes, PowerShell scripts will be run as well. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Emma. So I believe the week that we were looking at Python, we realized that our Python was actually already installed on our Ubuntu server. So if you have some insights into the software or the configurations that are already on the server, then that would inform the scripts that you use. Johnny Albert.
Hello.
Hi, John. Today your network is not helping us at all. If it's not really lengthy, could you put in the chat?
Okay, sorry, can you hear me?
Okay, it's better now.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, I want to understand this side of the presentation by comparing it with something that we have done before, if it actually similar situation, where we would take a machine, and then that is on-prem. We will take a machine, and then after discussion and everything, we know what the users are supposed to get or use. And then we would configure all the settings and the requirements, the preferences and everything, and then create a clone of that machine. And then after we have created the clone of that machine, we then deploy it to, let's say,
Chris, we cannot hear anything.
We then deploy it to.
And then once we have deployed to about 500 machines, 10 machines.
Okay.
And then we send these machines to the users. Now, so the machines will become very similar. They contain same thing, and everybody has their own data and everything set up. So that subsequently, even if a machine crashes or something, we just take that image and then redeploy it, and it comes back to the same place. I want to find out, is that a similar situation with this user data and everything that we are now going to put in some script and then run? That is what I want to find out. If they are similar, then it will kind of help me to understand what we are talking about in the cloud as we have done it on-premise before.
Okay, so I believe thank you, John. So I believe what you're describing is more of an AMI.
Yeah, okay, so.
Yeah, so I think what you're describing is more of an AMI than a user data. That's like from the parts that I understood you from, because you mentioned that you clone the machine and then you deploy it to you deploy the clone to multiple machines. So I'm guessing that is more of an AMI that you are describing. So let's look at AMI, and if the understanding is still not clear, then you come in with the question again, John.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So when we Dennis.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say from his submission, I think the similarity would only be for the first machine that they configure. So the first machine that they do all the software installations will be what we are doing with user data for just one machine. It doesn't cover the cloning for other machines aspects. So that's what I wanted to say in effect to your submission.
All right, thank you, Dennis. So the configurations that John's team made to their initial machine before the clone, that could be automated, or that could be done with the user data. So they use the user data to specify what configurations and what software they want on that first machine. And then they go ahead and then make a clone, which we can think of as our AMI, and then we deploy to other machines. So what's an AMI does is that it helps create a base image that you can use to configure your instance. So when all of us were launching our instance, we got to this this compulsory setting that we had to make, and these are the Amazon machine images. So the options that we have here are Linux, Mac OS, Ubuntu, Windows, etc. So when you take an Amazon machine image, so the reason why they are labeled here with the OS they use is that the AMIs, the main component of an AMI is the operating system. So that's the main component. It also has some other packages that it could come with. So some pre-installed software, like how I mentioned that Ubuntu already has Python installed, some configurations, some snapshots, all those things could come with an AMI. So we can think of AMIs as you have gone to buy your laptop. Let's say you bought a new laptop. You now have to make a decision on so like the only way you can be able to use that hardware, which is the laptop, is for you to have some software, for you to have an OS, and that OS is what's going to help you to make any use of your laptop. So that's OS that we would install on our laptop. Do you want to use Linux? Do you want to use Mac? Do you want to use Windows? So that's decision of the OS to use and then the configurations to have is a similar idea when we are looking at AMIs. That's why when you are creating an instance, you are you can choose from these AMIs that have been provided here. So I mentioned that there are 3 AMIs that you can use when launching your instance. Does anybody remember them? The sources of AMI. Hi, John.
So I remember, I think we talked about the Amazon Marketplace.
Yeah. Thank you, John. So yeah, the marketplace is one of the places that you can get AMIs. Who else? Odun.
Yeah, Chris, yeah. Everything is showing on your screen
I know,
from
right?
AWS Marketplace and the community. These are the 3 places.
All
The
right.
community, AWS and Marketplace, yeah. All right, thanks.
Okay, but what about you creating your own AMI?
Yes, that possibility is there.
There is my AMI here.
Okay. So you can create your own AMIs. You can use the community or the AWS provided ones, and you could also get from the marketplace. So the AMIs in the marketplace would typically be software developers who have, Linux is open source. So there might be some software developers who have tailored the OS that they have to have some special configuration, some special software. So you might want to buy AMIs from them, and you're also at liberty to create your own AMI. So to create your own AMI, you just click on your instance and then you choose what's it called? Create image. I think that's what's called. Create image, and then all the configurations that your instance has at that time, it is going to be stored as an image. So whenever you have another server that you want to have those configurations, all you need to do is to spin up a server from that AMI that you've created. Please, is that okay?
Yes, please.
Okay. You can also make use of configuration and deployment frameworks such as Chef, Puppet, and Ansible, and they help you to configure your new instances by using a template. So inside of the templates, you would specify the configurations you want your instance to have, and then when you run them, they would provision those resources for you. And you can also use AWS OpsWork, which is the managed version of Chef and Puppet. And you can also use AWS CloudFormation, which is infrastructure as code. Dennis.
Yeah, please, I want to ask the diagram. Is it like a step-by-step process, or they are just uh, tools that you can use like as and when, or it's like a step-by-step something?
No, there are tools that you can use. So you can use
Mm.
just this, you can use just this, you can use just this. Anyone that helps you get your work done.
Okay, okay.
Daniel.
Yeah, so it means that to achieve configuration for EC2 instances, these are the 5 different ways you can achieve that. Using the user data, that is using the bash script or any Python code to configure, and then the others, right?
Yes,
If I'm
please.
getting it right. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome. So we've looked at user data. We've also seen AMIs from here. We know how they work. I think I have a cloud formation scripts here. Okay, so this was not the cloud formation one. Penty.
Yes, sorry, Agosia. How about launch templates? How does that one work? Because I built a project yesterday that I used the launch template to build. I was
Okay.
successful though, but I think I still need some explanations to that.
Okay. So launch templates are used when you are using an ASG. So your auto-scaling group has the responsibility to create and then shut down instances according to some metrics that you specify. When your auto-scaling group is provisioning and when your auto-scaling group is provisioning these resources, how does your auto-scaling group know what configurations to use for those resources? You need to specify it into inside the launch template. So you can always have a launch template ready so that when you're configuring your auto-scaling group, it would use that launch template. So you can think of launch templates just like how when you're provisioning an instance, the things you might want to specify. So we just came from the console, from the EC2 console, and we can admit that we saw all of these options, right? So those options that you would specify when you are creating your EC2 instance, you specify them to create a launch template. It is really the same idea. We can see some similarities or even all similarities, just like how we saw them when we came from EC2. Advanced details, you can have your user data down here. So this these configurations that we specify when we are creating our EC2 instance are the same that we specify when we are creating our launch templates. And then the idea is that our auto-scaling group should look at it and then provision those configurations when it comes to instances. Pensy, is that okay?
Yes. But I think yesterday I read a bit about it, and they said it can also help for the automational purposes. Is it because it is using the auto scaling? And I understood it to be like the cloud formation. You know, the cloud formation is more or less like provisioning instances or resources through code. So I realized that this is also like provisioning resources through GUI or something like that. I don't know, but I don't know. Is there anything that you can say about that? How does it help for the automation? Is it because it's using the auto scaling or what?
Oh, okay. So if you want to provision with a GUI like this, that's also allowed. But if you want to go with the code side of it, then you can write it as code. So inside of your CloudFormation template, you can specify launch template configurations. So that is how it can help you with automation. And another way that is helping with automation too is that whenever instances need to be provisioned by your ASG, it's not now that you are coming to specify the configurations. It just picks up the launch templates, and then those configurations on the launch templates, it's creates instances according to those configurations. Is that okay?
Yes. But does it mean that we can use the launch template to create resources without specifically doing it under the ASG?
Yes, you can.
Okay, all right.
So you
Thank you.
select here, go to actions, and then you launch an instance from the template.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I did mine from the ASG section, so that's why I'm asking.
Okay, you can launch them straight too. Just that this is manual and then ASG is automated.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Daniel.
Yeah, with the launch templates, can the same goals be achieved with CloudWatch events?
CloudWatch events. Can you say more about your question?
The CloudWatch events, it triggers some configuration settings, or you set it up to perform certain actions based on some metrics or some alarms that might be generated from your CloudWatch logs. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So when
So,
you
yeah.
okay, go ahead.
Oh, I'm listening.
Okay, so when you configure CloudWatch to be triggered, so probably you configure CloudWatch to trigger an alarm when your CPU usage gets, let's say, 80%. So your server is almost being overwhelmed, and then you trigger a CloudWatch alarm. You also specify what should happen. So when the alarm is triggered, it's a good idea to specify what should happen. So sometimes people people integrate with SNS that they want to receive a notification, but a more proactive way to go would be to have it trigger an instance launch. So
Yeah.
you might want to integrate CloudWatch to trigger an instance launch. And how CloudWatch knows the instance to spin up is by the launch template. But I don't know if you can go straight from CloudWatch, like you can have CloudWatch do that trigger, or you would need to go through the ASG.
Well, I think I read something about the CloudWatch events can perform a particular action based on the metrics that you have set up in your CloudWatch. I mean, when the alarm goes off, then the event performs a particular task. So maybe I don't know
Yeah,
the
it's
actual task
possible.
it does, that maybe it picks the configuration settings within your launch templates and then executes it. I don't know, maybe that's the link there, but I was just trying to find a distinguishing thing between the two.
Okay, because CloudWatch events, which is Events Bridge, it's can trigger something else to happen. So it depends on your how your configuration is. It might trigger a Lambda function, and then that Lambda function is what would create the instance. It could also trigger your ASG to get something done. But the CloudWatch events in itself, I don't think it by itself can launch a new instance. It will trigger another service to launch the instance for you.
Oh, okay.
Penty.
Yes, Akuzi, I just want to add to what you said. So it's true, you can't use the event to make any provisions on your own unless maybe it notify another thing to make the provision. So yesterday, the project I was building was based on auto scaling, and I learned a bit about it before I started the project. So I realized that I was able to use the CloudWatch to make the trigger, but it was the launch template that I connected it with the alarm. So in case the alarm triggers, based on it being at the peak or the out, that's the in and out, because it's scaling both in and then out. So that is what happened. You can't use the CloudWatch itself to do anything. It's more or less like a monitor. So it only reports the issue to you, and then you assign the issue to another person who can do the work. That's what happens.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Bensi. Daniel, is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. So Betsy's submission is really making me happy. See why I encourage us to build projects, so that when it comes and then like you're talking about the concepts or the services and stuff, it's like you know what you're saying. Thank you so much, Betsy. Okay, so that's what launch templates to do. So they are also similar to they specify the configurations that you want when you want to spin up any instances. So you can also make use of configuration software, and we have configuration software like Chef and Puppet, which can help you to specify whatever configurations that you want, so that you would be able to get your instances to be in a certain state, or to be to have particular configurations when they are provisioned. So you can use this software to simplify common tasks that you need to undergo. For example, okay, so let's look at this example that is here. An engineer named Jane was granted access to multiple EC2 instances across the fleet, and she has a private key that helps her to log in with her unique user ID and perform some administrative tasks. And now that she's left the company and they do not have a configuration server, how are they going to deprovision her access to these servers? But if they have a configuration server, then the systems admin can easily change Jane's status in the system, and then he can apply the change to all instances in the fleet with a few simple commands. So in the first week when we were having our what's it called, assignments, we provisioned a key pair, and I'm sure a lot of us have noticed that you can use one key pair for multiple instances. So in a situation where you use that single key pair to access the multiple instances, and then right now the person with the key pair or the owner of the key pair is no longer there, how are you going to make changes to those? And which comes back to the way that the instance was configured. So the instance configurations, you would be able to make some change inside the code, and then inside your CloudFormation code, and then when you run it again, it would go and make those changes where they are needed. Please, do we understand?
Yes, please.
So it's just also still going to the same fact that you should always choose automation over doing things manually, because it helps for you to have consistency, and anything that you have to repeat, you know that you are doing it in the desired way or in the agreed upon way. And one of the advantages of using a configuration server is that it is idempotent. Repeating commands and functions do not alter the surrounding system or environment. So these software, they are able to get into your environment and then change the exact thing that you want changed. So if it's just the volume that you want to increase the size, or maybe you want to change the instance type, those things, it goes to change that specific thing without impacting the whole environment. So you are still able to have some form of detailing or some form of specificity when it comes to your configurations. So it's also a good idea to have a configuration strategy in place. So it's your configurations should be done proactively and not reactively. So you do not wait for something to go wrong before you make sure that you have some configurations that would be able to survive whatever that has gone wrong. You make those configurations or you make those changes proactively, even before anything can happen. Okay, so the first is using Amazon machine images. So when you provision your instance that has those specifications that you want, you've made your installations and everything, and then you go ahead and then you create an image from that instance. You have the image there so that if anything should happen to your main instance, whatever configurations that you had on it, they are not lost, and then they are still available for you. And because the instances that are provided by AWS are they're not really tailored, so like they're generalized. So AWS is just providing those servers, and after you provision one, that is when you go ahead and then make any configurations on them. So you want to use the server as your web server, or you want to use it to host a database, or you want to use it to do this or that. You want to have your you want to host your company's application on it. So all those changes that you make, when you create an image from that instance, you would be able to provision new instances already having those configurations without you having to now go back to this route, and then you launch an instance which is like the general use one that AWS provides, and then you now have to perform all of those installations and configurations again. So your company might have some tools and some software that they need on the instances that you're provisioning. So the AMIs help for us to be able to do that. And you should also use configuration software like Chef and Puppets, which in AWS's world is the AWS OpsWork. Johnny Albets.
Hello, Madam Akosia.
Hi, John.
Okay, so I want to ask, I agree with you that that would be maybe a best practice that after you have provisioned your instance, you create an AMI of it. So this AMI, where are you going to store it? In an S3 bucket or something?
Okay, so our AMIs are stored here. What's it? Okay, so under images, and then you go to AMIs.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is where we can find them. And then they would have an AMI ID just like this.
Okay.
So there are AWS provided AMIs. There are AMIs that you can buy from the marketplace, and then you can also create your own AMIs. So if you want AWS's provided AMIs, these ones, if you want more of them too, there are a lot of them here. We have looked at. Go ahead.
I was asking, I understand, is that when you have created your own to be used, you are not going to add it to the community AMI, or?
No, you're not. It exists only within your account.
That's what I wanted. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. And it's also region bound. So your AMI can exist here. If you want to use it in another region, you might have to have additional configurations for you to access it in another region, even though it is your AMI.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So you can use AMIs. You can also use configuration software like Chef and Puppet. And then you can also define a source control and change policy. So you have a baseline document that's details how your configuration should be like. So whenever any change is made, you would be able to tell that there has been a change. In CloudFormation, we call it a drift. It can be able to tell you that this is the configuration that is your baseline, or that is your desired configuration, and then this and that have changed about that configuration, especially when you go and make manual edits to the resource that you've already provisioned. And you are also encouraged to explore and experiment if you want to develop an effective configuration management solution. So you would have to, let me say, democratize. Okay, you're going to have to test out the various options that you have to use for your configuration strategy. So looking at your company's use case, is it AMI building that is going to help you guys? Looking at your use case, is it CloudFormation's infrastructure as code that is going to help your company? So you are at liberty to explore with these options for configuration management, and then you are going to decide on the one that best suits your company's use case. So for example, before you moved to AWS, you were using Chef and Puppet on-prem. So now that you moved to AWS, you are likely to use OpsWork for your configuration management. I personally make use of what's it called? CloudFormation or even Terraform. So when I move to the cloud, I would want to use that. So there are multiple tools that can serve similar function, and it's just really dependent on your personal preference, and then the one that works best for your company, and then you go ahead and pick that one to use for your configuration management. And you can also use multiple ones. So I think with the last project I built, I used Terraform to create a CloudFormation stack. So you can actually, what's it called? You can actually mix them. So you can use 2 or 3 of these tools that we've looked at if they help you to get your configuration management done. Please, is that okay? Okay, please give me 3 minutes. I'll be right back.
Okay, please.
All right, I'm back. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Okay. Okay, so let's just have a review before we move on to our AMI building strategy. Who can tell us some benefits about some benefits that configuration management provides? They're actually here, so you can just explain, pick one and explain how you understand. Okay, I guess I have to mention names. Catherine.
Hello, Akosua.
Hi, Catherine. Can you tell us one benefit of configuration management?
Of configuration. Please hold on 1 minute.
Okay.
Well, I think it helps us to customize our resources to meet our needs. So it's one benefit. You're able to actually set up things the way you want it to run for you.
Okay. Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
So in terms of security needs, in terms of PCA.
Hello. Yeah. So my problem is, of all the services I know, I think it's ops work I still don't understand. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. So prior to companies moving to the cloud, or even before AWS was a thing, there are some software that's were being used, which we call, so there's Chef and then there's also Puppet. You guys have done cloud formation, right?
Yeah, we have.
Okay, so you can think of Chef and Puppet as something like CloudFormation. Okay, so the way CloudFormation, we have a template and then we specify some configurations that we want our resources to have. That's the same way inside Chef. Inside Chef, we have recipes. So inside Chef, the templates are called recipes. So inside the Chef recipe, then you would have the configurations that you want. So those are Chef and Puppet are software that are not proprietary to AWS. So AWS does not own them. They are owned by another tech company, okay? And they're also open source. So AWS created their version of that software. And that is the OpsWork. And it works with the Chef and Puppet that engineers already know about outside of AWS.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I do understand now. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So you can decide to use OpsWork, you can decide to use CloudFormation, you can decide to create AMIs from your instances. You can decide to go with user data. All of those options are available when you want to maintain control over your configuration when it comes to your instances. Yvonne.
Okay, sorry. I just want to get it. The OpsWork, the user data, they are all for configuration management. Do they have any specific difference?
A specific difference? Well,
or they all work the same way? And you would decide to choose what you want to use.
well, they all have the individual things that they do. And yes, you would choose which ones that you want to use for your configuration management. So they all have things that they do. The user data is run once at your instance launch. So for some companies, just using the user data is enough for them. But some companies would want to implement a user data within their CloudFormation template. And then now their CloudFormation template is going to be saying all those things they want in an instance. Okay, so this is an example block for an instance in CloudFormation. Why is it so bare? So in this example, the person made use of both both CloudFormation and then user data. You can see our user data here, and then there's also CloudFormation being used. So this whole script is a CloudFormation template. So depending on the need that you have, then you choose the ones that you use.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Yes, I think with the review, we are okay with the review. AMIs
Hello.
can be recreated. Hi.
Hello, Kotiwa.
Hi, Samuel.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting. I raised my hand, but yes,
Okay, don't
I
worry.
wanted to ask, are there kind of specific use cases in relation to the chef and puppet and the collaboration? Like kind of use cases scenario.
Okay, comparing Chef and Puppet to CloudFormation.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, so the CloudFormation templates I've just shown you is provisioning an EC2 instance. So this was used for an architecture that had a web server. So they provisioned the instance security group, by the help of CloudFormation. So the route table, internet gateway, the VPC resources. So this application was deployed using CloudFormation. with using Chef and Puppet, it's going to have a similar idea in the sense that these configurations that we've written, okay, we are going to use the Chef and Puppet version of it. So it is still going to get us the same results that we are looking for, but then this time we used OpsWork instead of CloudFormation. Is that okay?
Okay, yes, please. Yes, please.
PSA, your hand is still up.
Oh, sorry, sir. Let me put it down.
Okay. Yeah, so those are some of the resources that we've seen when it comes to configuration management. CloudFormation would help you to create, update, and delete your resources. And you can also make use of AMIs. You can buy an AMI from the AWS Marketplace, or you can use the one AWS provides, or you can create your own AMI if you have an instance that you want any other future instances to have its configurations. Okay, so we would look at AMI building strategy. Before we do, does anybody want to tell us what they understand by AMI? So what exactly is an AMI? Daniel.
It's an operation system for your machine or for your cloud computer.
Right. Thank you, Daniel.
Hello, Akosia.
Hi, John.
Okay, so as an acronym, I think it is Amazon Machine Image.
Yeah.
As an acronym. So that is what I know about it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, John. Wow, a lot of hands for AMI. Okay. Precious.
Okay, good morning, Akosia. My
Morning.
definition for that is it's also an operating system, but my question is it not born out of an instance? That's just a question. It's born out of an instance, right?
Is born out of an instance.
Yeah. So sort of. Okay. So I
when
heard you say clone.
yeah. So when you
You
create
clone
your
it.
own, when you create your own AMI, all your instance configurations is going to be of that all the configurations are going to be of the instance that you took that image from. But even before you provision your instance, if you want to get an AMI from AWS, that one is not really born of an instance, so to say. It's just the OS. So AWS partnering with Windows, AWS partnering with Ubuntu, Mac, they will be able to provide you these. So when you borrow the server from AWS, we can liken it to we bought our laptop and now we need an OS to be able to use that laptop. So what OS are you going to go with? And you choose from these. So yeah, you can think of it as also born from an instance.
Okay. Okay. So basically, that's what I would say. An AMI is basically born from an instance, and also it determines the operating system that you use for that particular instance.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Precious. I actually thought Precious was a lady. Okay, Jeffrey. Okay, if Jeffrey can't go yet, Dennis.
Yeah, I need a bit of clarity on what Precious said. I still don't understand what he meant by AMI is born from an instance, and then also he said it determines the OS. For me, I think the AMI is the OS, that's the OS. So I don't know if there's a difference between what I'm thinking and what he just said. If you can
Oh,
clarify.
okay.
Okay,
So I think it's basically what you're saying. So maybe my English didn't come out well. So yeah, AMI is your OS, right? Yeah, just that you are fine. I was just trying to say that your AMI is the OS of your instance, basically. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Precious and Dennis. Wisdom, is that hehemepe?
Yeah, that's Hekemekme.
Oh, nice.
All right. Good morning.
Good
So,
morning.
AMI is Amazon Machine Image. It's a virtual appliance that is used to create a virtual machine. We need Amazon EC2, and it serves as a template that contains the operating system, application server, and application required to launch an instance. It can be customized, and it also comes with pre-configured templates and other stuffs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wisdom. That's an excellent submission. So we have just mentioned AMIs, and we mentioned that as the core of it, or the main thing inside the AMI is operating system. And you can also have other configurations with it. So some AMIs can come with launch permissions. So the launch permissions would specify who can launch an instance from that AMI. It could have it could tell the kind of what's it called? The kind of volume that you should attach to that AMI. So the week that we were looking at EC2, or even last week, I showed you guys how when you select a type of instance, you have the option to use an instance store, or you have the option to use an EBS volume. So all of those things factor into it when selecting an AMI, but at the heart of it is the operating system. And you can also customize the AMIs that are available to suit your use case. So this is an example where the tools that we know about. So this is our user data, and then this could typically represent our code that has helped us to get our AMI. To get our instance. And then on the running instance, you create
So that's
the
configuration
AMI.
settings.
Pardon?
Configuration settings. That's the first part.
Okay. Yeah, so our configuration settings, and then the configuration settings on our instance, and then we create an AMI from those settings. So you can go to your instance, and under actions, and under image and templates, you would be able to create an image from the instance. So this is an example of where you are creating your own AMI. It is dependent on those AMIs that AWS offered to us, but in this case, you have customized the one AWS is offering, and then you have created an instance that serves your need. So when you have your new AMI, you would be able to select that AMI, and then you spin up new instances from that AMI. So you are assured that whatever new instances that you're spinning up from that AMI are definitely going to have these configurations. Please, is that okay?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is another option that we have to be able to configure our instances at boot time. So which of the technologies that we've just seen would help us to configure our instance at boot time? We saw CloudFormation, we saw OpsWork, we saw okay, Udum.
User data.
Thank you, Udum. Or is it the boot time that we don't understand? So at instance launch, when launching the instance, okay, we would use the user data to help us to configure our instance at boot time. And with the use of the user data, it helps you to save time. And then it also helps you to have consistency when it comes to your instances. And you can also make use of, so you're able to save time when you use the user data, because it's not now that you have to SSH into the instance and then you go and run those commands. The user data runs them, and then by the time the instance is provisioned, you have those configurations. So based on that, you can have a full AMI, you can have a partially configured AMI, and you can also have the OS only AMI. So with the full AMI, it has all the applications and dependencies pre-installed, and you will be able to get a shortened boot time. And full AMIs have a shorter lifespan, and this is because if your AMI comes already with all the configurations that you need, you know, tech is always evolving. So even when there's even not a problem yet, they would have some updates and some they would have some updates that they might want to make on those configurations that you have. So probably you had just Python as part of the applications on your instance, and then right now Python 3 is out. So if you are still going the full AMI route, you might miss out on those updates that come up, or it will now be your responsibility for you to make those updates when you have used that AMI to spin up an instance. And if you want to go with the partially configured AMI, that one is just you have the prerequisite software and utilities already installed. So that one has a longer shelf life, because whenever any updates are made, those updates will be made. Those updates would be made as and when they are released by the software provider. And then you can also have an OS only AMI, and that approach is fully configurable and upgradable over time. And then it takes a shorter time for you to build up your instance. So if I should spin up an instance from an AMI I have created, it will take longer time as compared to if I spin up an instance from these AMIs that AWS has provided for us. So these ones that AWS have provided for us are they are, so to say, OS only. They just have like a few other configurations, but then the main thing in them is that they are OS only. I know Ubuntu has Python installed, and then like all of those things, but then the closest to OS only AMI, what the ones that are on it are just the necessary configurations that are needed for the OS to work. So the OS's dependencies and stuff. So that's going to take a faster time as compared to when I'm spinning it up from an AMI that has MySQL installed, so I have a web server installed, all of those things. So the whole point in using AMIs is to speed up and to have consistency and to also speed up that boot process whenever you want to spin up or whenever you want to build an instance in the cloud. So this is how to create AMIs. You can click on your instance. So with the console, you click on your instance, you go to image and templates, and then you create an AMI from the instance. The equivalent of it in the CLI is to run this command. So one of you should tell me one of you should tell me what is happening in this command. Chloe. Emmanuel Obeng. Princess Hammond. Abel Sangmote.
Akosia, please, can you come with the question again? Your network was.
Oh, okay. I just demonstrated how to create an AMI with the console, and this is the CLI version of it. So can somebody tell us or interpret this CLI command to us?
What's it loud?
John Harold.
All right, so from the command, we are creating an AMI. So we are creating an image, an EC2 image, and then we have the instance ID of the EC2 instance, and then we name the EC2. We name the image. So we provide a name for the image, and that is our base image, and then we also provided the date.
Exactly. Thank you so much, John. So guys, we know the way our CLI commands look. AWS, the service, and then the action that you want that service to do for you. And we are trying to create an image from our EC2 instance. So this is just the same way as when I came here and then I selected the instance under image and templates, and then I clicked on create image. So this is just the CLI version of it. We know about the AWS CLI and what it can help us to do. Okay. And I also mentioned that AMIs are region bound.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so my question is, you see, we just created this with a command line. So how do we know that the or Linux, or you create the AMI before you come and create?
How do we know that what?
We are picking a Linux or we are picking Windows.
We are creating it from this instance. So whatever OS that this instance is using, that is the OS that the AMI would have.
Oh, okay.
And AMIs are also region bound. So if you create an AMI in one region, you would not be able to use it until you make that transfer to the other region. And when you create an AMI from an instance, the instance is rebooted to ensure consistency. And if any EBS volumes are attached to your instance, the EBS volume would also be captured as part of the process of creating the AMI. So when we take a screenshot or we capture our EBS volume, what is the term for that?
Snapshot.
Thank you. So if there are any EBS volumes attached to the instance, a snapshot would be taken of it accordingly. So this is how to copy an AMI from one region to another, because until you do that, you would not be able to use that AMI in another region. So you have a use case where your company has now been operating in one region, but then you have the need to expand to another region. Probably a lot of your users are closer to that region, and you want to make sure that the instance that you have in your region 1, the configurations of that instance are the same in region 2. So AMI can help you to do this. You create the AMI and then you use this command, or you can also use the console to make that copy. So you copy from region 1 to region 2, so that when you go to region 2 and you are launching an instance, you would see your region 1 AMI as part of the options that you have to launch that instance from. So you mentioned the source region, which is your region 1, and then you also mention your destination region, which is the region that the AMI should be copied into. So here, this is the AMI ID that you specify, and that is your source that you are moving to this region, the destination. And when it gets to the destination, what name should it be under? You specify that too using the name option. So these are some more details when it comes to your AMI creation. You are going to pay for the EBS volumes that are being stored in S3. So while you have that AMI, you will be paying for the snapshots that is being stored in S3. You can use the console, and you can also use the CLI to create a Linux AMI directly from an instance root volume snapshot. And to create a Microsoft Windows AMI, you would run the sysprep tool on your EC2 instance before you can create an AMI from it. So far we have been looking at Linux instances, and the console way I showed, and then the CLI command that they provided earlier would work for them. But if you want to create an AMI from Microsoft Windows, then this is the way to go. So there's a tool that you need to run, which is called the sysprep tool. That needs to be run before you create an AMI from the Windows instance. And if it's for Windows Server 2016 or later, you run sysprep with EC2 launch. And then if it's for 2016 and earlier, you run sysprep with EC2 config. So sysprep is the Microsoft's system preparation tool, and it helps for you to duplicate customized installation of Windows. So you installed your Windows instance and you've made some customizations. Is the sysprep tool that is going to kind of make it into a standard kind of AMI. So it's going to have it match up, and then have it be in a way that if it's going to be used to provision another instance, the instance can have those exact configurations that you are looking for. And the EC2 launch service starts when you boot your instance and when you perform tasks during startup. So when you run that, that would be run if you're using Windows Server 2016 or later, and if you're using Windows Server 2016 or earlier, then you run it with EC2 config. But this isn't a really common use case because a lot of the cloud is powered with Linux. So if by any chance you go and chance upon a Microsoft Windows server, then that's when you might need to use these tools to be able to create an AMI from it. So the Microsoft system preparation runs through the generalized phase, the specialized phase, and then the out of the box experience. And as the generalized phase, we are looking at removing the image specific information and configurations. So it would remove the security identifier, the computer name, event logs, specific drivers. And after that phase is complete, the operating system is ready to create an AMI. So all of those details that would not be needed when you are making use of the AMI, when you're using the AMI to spin up a new instance, those ones will be removed as this generalized phase. And then when it gets to the specialized phase, plug and play scans the computer and installs the drivers for any detected devices. It then generates the OS requirements, and then you can run commands in that phase. And for the out of the box experience, the system runs an abbreviated version of Windows setup, and it asks the user to enter information such as the system language, time zone, and registered organization. Those of us with Windows machines, I believe whenever you buy a new even if it's not new, and then you're using your Windows OS for the first time, you actually go through these processes. You select your system language, your time zone, registered organization. So when you run sysprep with EC2 config, the answer file automates this phase. So we saw the two ways that you can run the sysprep depending on if the server you're using is later than 2016 or earlier than 2016. So when it comes to the config, these choices that you need to make are automated. And then when it comes to the one with the EC2 launch, which is the now and then later, that's when we are asked to enter those system language, time zone, and the rest. Okay, we are done. Okay, all of you already told me what an AMI is. What is the purpose of the user data option? What do we do with the user data? Benisousu. The person with the hat, is it Rikis or Rikis? Rikis Saba. Razak Tahiru. Abel Sangmote.
I used to run scripts after the instance started. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's also used to perform common configuration, automate configuration. It's used to perform common. I'm mixing it up. It's used to perform common automation configurations. Task. Okay, it's used to perform common configuration automation configuration task, and it's also used to, as I said earlier, to run scripts after the instance starts.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abel. So yeah, user data is where you put some scripts that you want to run at instance launch. So whenever we launch our instance, we see that it takes a little while for the checks that are passed. So the system status check, and then there's another check that has to be passed. So before your instance comes to 2/2 checks passed running, and then you know that you can use the instance to serve clients or to perform whatever function, you might want to install some configurations on the instance. AWS only provides a generalized kind of they provide generalized kind of service for us, so we would have to install whatever additional tools and configurations that we want to have on our instance. And a good way to do that is by using the user data, so that by the time the instance is provisioned, it already has these configurations. And I forgot to let you guys in Noble's class know. So everybody is supposed to speak before the class ends. That is why I try to call from the list that I see. And we have a class monitor called Victoria. And if I mention your name from my list and I get no response, Victoria notes down your names so that I do not end up marking you for participation. And you also, if you are going to move away from your phone and want to be able to give any responses for like maybe 5 minutes or anything of that sort, you can put in the chat BRB, so that when I mention your name, your colleagues will let me know that this person is not by their device at the moment. Please, is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Ye- Yes, madam.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Madam.
So
Hello, madam.
please, who wants to take question 3?
Okay. Hello, madam.
Hi.
Please, what if you contribute without you being called? Will you be
Yes,
noticed?
you'll be marked. So those I call are those that I haven't heard their voices yet.
All right.
Yeah. So those of you who haven't spoken yet, does any of you want to take question 3? Kofi Atom.
All right. I could see the problem, the reason why the scripts fail when we run is because AMI is region bound. So you specify for one particular region, within its work for a different region. So that is the reason why it fails.
All right. Thank you, Kofi. Andy, I guess that's what you were going to say.
Yes, but please, is it instance that are region bound or AMI? I'm a bit confused.
Both of them.
Oh, okay.
Hey, please, how do you pronounce your first name? Athana. Please unmute and pronounce it.
Athanasius.
Athanasius. Oh, okay.
Please, I don't know whether you talked about. I wanted to find out why is the AMI important, and also what is the difference between the AMI and the VMI?
The AMI and the what?
VMI.
VMI.
Yes, please.
Like virtual machine image.
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. So the AMI is important because think of it as you've gone to buy a new laptop, okay? You have that hardware, which is the laptop. The only way you would be able to make use of the laptop, the only way you'd be able to get it to do something for you is when you have an operating system on it. And then that operating system would then have any additional applications or software that you might need. So when we go to borrow servers from Jeff Bezos, what is happening is that he is giving us the service and then whatever OS that we want to use. So if we want to use Linux, Mac, Windows, we choose. And he has given us this list to choose from. So there's Ubuntu, there's macOS, those things. So when you think of AMI, think of it as your operating system that is going to help you to use your server or to use your laptop. Please, is that okay? Athanasius?
Yes, please. Yes, please. And then the second one too, the difference between the AMI and the VMI.
Okay, so the VMI would typically come with an operating system. So the VMI kind of, let me say, is almost similar to the AMI. But then the main difference between both is that the AMIs, as the name implies, Amazon Machine Image, is from AWS. So the AMIs that we are seeing with these AMI IDs, they are AWS specific, okay, but the VMIs are more generalized and then they're more cloud agnostic. But AWS's version of VMIs is the AMIs. Is that okay?
Okay, so does it mean that it means that the AMI is something like it's a pre-configured what's the name, image, as in the EC2 instance. It is being pre-configured, but for the VMI, you are supposed to configure them.
Yeah.
Okay, madam. Thanks.
You're welcome. Hey, Mano Mesa. Samo Kwabina Saka.
All right, Samuel. So I wanted to find out. I don't know if it's been mentioned already. I know that I want to find out why the AMI is region specific. I know we have been taught that when you are creating your application, sometimes you for data restriction, you can't move data out of a particular region because of the data restrictions. For country-specific restrictions, so you can't move data from S3 to maybe from one region to another. Is it the same with the AMI? Why is it that it's region-specific? I thought it's the same OS. You are building the same OS with the same specs or features you want. Why is it region-specific? Is there any reason for that?
Okay, so for performance issue and then for data compliance and all of those things, AWS has, or just so they are able to manage it better, they've made it region specific. But it doesn't mean that if you go to another region, you won't get this Mac, this Linux, this Ubuntu. The only thing that it means is that this like the exact AMI ID is going to be different. So look at my screen right now, right, North Virginia, and then we have Ubuntu selected. And pay attention to this ID. The last number is 8529. And then we go to Ohio. The same Ubuntu. And then now the last number is BF74. So it's not that those other regions do not also have those AMIs. They also do, but it's just the ID that is different. I don't know if that helps somehow.
I think I get it better. So I get it. I think I get it.
Yeah, so AWS has these same AMIs in various regions, but it's just the AMI ID that is different. But then the configurations and the way the OS works and everything are going to be consistent throughout all of the regions. But just for them to be able to manage them better, and they know that these AMIs are working for the people in this region, then they would go for something like that. And then you mentioned data security issues, data compliance. Those things too would definitely feed in when it comes to the version of Ubuntu that you can find in each region. But a lot of the time they are going to be almost the same.
Hello. I think I get it. if because I know some softwares when you are installing it, they are region specific. So it means that, let's say if I'm running an application in the US West and I'm running, let's say, Facebook on it, but I want to send my servers to another region, let's say North Virginia, but North Virginia, TikTok is not allowed in North Virginia or to run those applications there. How do you go about being able to run the application, or because that particular software is not allowed, you cannot even go ahead and do that whole configuration in that particular region? I don't know if you guess my question. Aside the underlying AMI, the software that you build on top of those AMI, are they affected by some of these data challenges, regulations?
Yes, I believe they would be affected by them. And these data restrictions are usually, yes, so as you mentioned, they're usually with they're application specific, and then they are software specific. They are rarely OS specific. So you would be able to provision that AMI, and then you'd be able to get that instance. But when you try to get some software, and so for example, if our Ubuntu server, we are going to be using a wget to download a software, the only way that we are able to download that software is because we would have a public IP address that would go to that software's website or repository to get us that software that we are looking for. When our what's it called? When our IP address gets to the software's website, and then it sees something in our IP address that shows it that you're coming from this country or you're coming from that country, then it can deny or allow that software downloading. Is that okay, Samuel?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I think PSC's hand was already up. So Grace. Okay, if Grace isn't ready, Jeffrey.
Please, please, I'm ready. Mine is.
Go ahead.
Please, mine is no question. I want to ask for permission. I have a class. I'll join the afternoon class if that's okay.
I don't understand.
I want to leave the class. Like I have a class, school class. So I wanted to
Okay.
leave the class.
Class is actually over, guys. This class is over.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Jeffrey.
Yeah, hello. Please.
Jeffrey, please hold on. Those of us in my class, we have to meet for feedback session at 11. Jeffrey, Bless, Yvonne, can you please note down your questions so that when we come back, we will take them.
Okay, please.
Yes, please. So just please note it down. As soon as we come back at 1:30, and then you remind me, I'll note your names down, and that will be the first thing we'll look at, okay?
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Those of us in my class, please let's I'm going to end this call now, and then we will join the feedback link, and then we have a feedback session. So bye guys, and I'll see everybody at 1:30. Those of us in my class right now.
Bye.
Today is not
Bye,
11:30.
Bye.
Like we're meeting like right after
Bye.
here.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye, Akosia.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.